Okay, so now that we've seen how we can access our cartridges on our machine and our images, the internal cartridges as well as the regular Cricut cartridges and the Imagine cartridges, let's explore this button right here. This button is the settings button. When we click on this, it will give us 4 more options, and then it will show an arrow key down at the bottom. What these arrow keys are in essence just page turner buttons, and there are 4 pages of selections underneath the settings button. We're going to walk through them quickly one at a time. This first button is the art quantity button. So if I want 3 copies on the same mat of the images that I've already selected, I can tell it to do 3 copies and it will add those to the mat. If I want to run through more than one mat using this exact same project, I can hit this button, which is the project quantity. It'll keep track of those as I cut my project out. This button right here is the fit to page button, and if I have more than one image on my mat, it'll fit both of those images to the page. If I have just one image on the mat, it'll fit that image to the page. This final button is an autofill. And the same thing happens when you have more than one, let's go add one real quick. If you have more than one image and you select the autofill, it will autofill with both of those images. And that's how that one works. To turn it off, I just click it again. So let's go to page 2. On page 2, I have 4 more options, and we're going to first look at this one with the grid. This is actually where you set your mat size. So you have 12 by 12, 12 by 24 portrait, and 12 by 24 landscape. And that's how you change your mat size. Now here, this one is set paper size. So if I have an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that I want to load onto my mat, I just dial in that size, I hit save, and it will show me where my cutting area is on the mat. This is really helpful if you want to fit to page. It'll keep track of that. And it will also keep track of that, of your new paper size for an autofill. To reset it back to normal, I just click on the icon again, hit reset, and save, and it will take it back to my default, which is the 12 by 12 mat. This function here is your set starting point. So if I want to, you can see that the images always start cutting from the top left corner. If I want it to start cutting 4 inches down and 4 inches over, then I can go in and select 4 inches over and 4 inches down. Select save, and it will move that over. This is helpful when I want to use the center point feature. You kind of use these in tandem with each other. So if I hit center point feature, it'll move both of those images centered around the coordinate that I entered in earlier. If I just want to center one of those images, I remove that one of them and I hit the center point, and it will center that around that coordinate. And that's how you use center point and set starting point. To reset, I just go back into there, select the reset button, and hit save, and it will move it back up into the left-hand corner. Okay, page 3. I want to actually select, let's add another image in here. Added an image to my mat. This selection here is set fit to length. So if I want this image to fit to 7 1/4, I can enter that in, and it will fit the image to that length. This image here looks very similar to the load mat button on the main page. But what this button actually is, you'll see that has a little dot on it, is load last. So we'll keep track of the last project I did, and it will load the next image in where the last project ended. This button here, and I actually want to go select a different artwork for this. Some words. Okay, so when I type it in, you can see that it just regularly, it puts everything against a baseline. I go into the Apply All button, and I can change that to a paper saver mode. So it moves it up, and Apply All, and I can also select Real Dial Size. Another great feature is if I want to change the size of something and do it to everything instead of one at a time, I can do it in the Apply All button. I can also flip everything horizontally in the Apply All, or vertically, or both. And I can rotate all the images at once as well. And that's how the Apply All button works. This button here is the machine settings button. I can change the increments to 1/4, from 1/4 of an inch to 1/10. I can also select millimeters and centimeters if I'd rather have that. I love the 1/10 inch because if I want to, a lot of times I find myself matting a circle and I don't want to go up a full 1/4 of an inch, so this comes in handy for that. Right here, you can select a different language. Right now, English is the only language available, but I'm sure there will be other languages soon. And this is where you change the cutting light on your blade on the deck of the machine as it cuts. So the default of it is to only show the light while it's cutting, or I can turn it to always on or always off and save my settings that way. To reset the settings of the entire machine, you click right here. And it says you're about to reset all of your machine settings, and you say yes, I want to do that, and click Save. And that's page 3 of the settings buttons. Finally, we have these last 4 options. This one is your material options. You can the default settings, or the default materials that are loaded into the machine, are light paper, medium paper, heavy paper, and vinyl kiss cut. You can also go in and create your own custom choices. So here I've created chipboard, and when I select that, it changes all the settings to that. Or I can go back to a light paper and it will change all the settings. Now let me show you the settings. Right here is your tool. So we have the original blade with the depth of 1 through 6, or you have the pen, or I've added a deep cut blade. Just like we added a material here, in the next selection you can add a different tool. So I added a deep cut blade. This here is where you add your new material and name it. This button here is the speed. So instead of having the dial on the side of the machine, you can change the speed here. You can go to the very fastest by moving the point up. And when I do that, you can see it does custom. This is the pressure. So I want hardest pressure for that. And then this here with the multiple lines is the multiple cut. So if I need to multi-cut through chipboard or something, or heavy paper, I can select that there. Now if I like how that is, I can go in and use this and actually change this to be called something different. And now it will show up in my menu. If I want to remove it, I just click on it and hit that red button. Okay, so like I said earlier, you can also add different tools. You just hit the add button and it'll bring up a menu for what you would like to call it. You can also edit the ones that are already there by selecting it. Oh, sorry, that's a default. Selecting it, and this will take you and let you edit the name, or you can remove it. All right, this final button is the final 2 buttons are to calibrate your screen. You just tap the screen and follow the prompts to click on the cross hatches, and that will calibrate your screen. And then finally you have an information button. This will show you your version, which is very helpful when you do your updates. This is the end user license agreement. And then you also have your warranty information right here on your machine. So that's it. That's the 4 pages of options available underneath the settings button.